Welcome to the Purpose of Your Mom Show, episode 436. And this is a very timely episode because we're going to talk about what you do now in the beginning of December to prepare for your holiday break as a work at home mom. I have been preparing for this for, I guess, the beginning of October. I'm actually recording this episode. It's Halloween today because my goal was to get all of my podcast episodes done for the entire year before the end of the month, which I'm counting like tomorrow too. I have three more to do. I don't know if I'm going to get there, but at least I feel ahead. And that's really one of the tips I'm going to give you because I want to take off. So I guess the first thing I'm going to recommend is, do you even know what you're planning to take off over the break? Oh, listen, show notes. They're going to be at purposedrivenmom.com/podcast 436, or you can just swipe up on your player and we'll have resources there. Now, before you even decide what to do, you have to decide when you're taking off. And I highly recommend you take off. This will actually be the first year in 7 years of my business that I've taken the break completely off. Now, I'm doing it light, which I'll talk about in a second, but I'm not hosting any calls or any of it over the break. I've not done that since, let's say, the Purpose of Your Mom Club's been around since 2019. I've not done that in the years since the club has been around. And I was pushed by my team to give myself a break. I want to remind you that yes, it is really nice to be able to work from home. It's fun to be an entrepreneur, but you also have to give yourself breaks. Now, I am going to get work done, but it's going to look different. I'm planning on taking a few days off. Obviously, like the main holidays for me and my family are Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. We're going to have a New Year's Eve party, my daughter's birthday. What are the other big ones I'm taking off? We're going to my sister's for Christmas, so that day and the day after. So I kind of went through my schedule and I X'd out the days that I am not working at all. I might come to the office and check in on my ClickUp, see if there's anything that I feel like working on, but I'm giving myself some definite don't work at all, right? I'm not working at all. I'm going to treat them like weekends because I don't typically work on the weekends. So first up, identify what are the days that you're taking completely off. Then you're going to want to identify the days that maybe you're choosing to work light. Now, this is going to be variable based on your work at home job. I am an entrepreneur, so I make my own hours. I know a lot of you listen aren't entrepreneurs or aren't there yet, but you have to work on certain hours. So decide, what are your light days? I've given myself off for the 2 weeks, between Christmas and New Year's of calls. I still wanted to get some work done because I have some projects I want to work on. And this is important. Deciding your priorities. People are going to be like, oh, I can't believe you're still working. It's because I'm choosing to. I'm choosing to because one of my priorities is to work on this project that I want to finish before the year ends for my business. Because I want to work on it, it is my choice and it feels different. Okay. So I am picking a couple days that I'm working light. And what that's going to look like is I might work for a couple hours in the office. I might pop in when I feel like it, but I'm going to be very strategic about what that looks like. Because if I said, oh, I'll just work a light all break, I can see myself overworking, not taking a break at all. So step one is identify when you're going to take off versus when you're going to have light days versus when you might have full heavy days. Because we're not doing calls, I'm not having any quote full work days at all. But previous years, I had days where I would host my calls. And because of that, I would take my call days, like Tuesdays, for example, is a day I do a coaching call in the Purpose of Your Mom Club. I would take that day and I'll say, okay, I'm just going to work heavy Tuesdays and get all those things done. I'm not doing that this year, but maybe you are. So start with the calendar. What are those things you want to take on and off? The second thing you're going to want to identify are the key projects and things that you want to work on for your business during that time. So when I'm sitting in my light days and I'm going into the office, I'm very specific about what I'm doing. I'm going to work on some passion projects. I'm going to work on some fun things. I have a list. I'm not going to get sidetracked with I should be doing other things. This time is very intentional so that the time that I am taking from spending with my family, relaxing, is purposeful. I also want you to think through your current priorities. Is this a time where you can push? Is this a time where you're like, hey, I am a stay-at-home mom. My kids are younger, so they're home, but my partner is home over the winter break. So I actually get more work time. Maybe for you, you don't take time off. Maybe for you, you're like, I have these non-negotiable days off and I'm working harder. That's totally fine. All right. The other thing I want you to pick is a couple personal goals that fit in for you because it's going to fuel you. I'm all about doing something for you. Find that book, find that craft, find that thing that you want for you so that you can make sure you're planning that in as well. Now, what I want you to also think about now is what you want January to feel and look like. If you go to a purposedrivenmom.com/2025 planning, we're doing our 2025 planning challenge. Actually, when this airs, it might have already happened, but if not, go get your free ticket. Part of this is asking yourself what January is going to feel like for you. What's the ramp up? A lot of us want to start January 1 and be like, let me do it. I'm all in. I take that first week of January light. That's a planning week for me. That's where I kind of slowly enroll myself into my goals for the year. I'm not trying to hit the ground running on January 1st. I like to, again, my kids don't even go back to school till I think the 3rd or the 4th, right? So what do you want January to feel like? I identify this in my personal life. I identify this in my work life. For me, in my work life, that first week of January, when my kids are January 1st that week, I'll start working slowly and ramp it up, and then I'll get back to my regularly scheduled work programs. Okay. So planning out January is also going to help you over the break because you're going to know, are there things you need to do? Now, we're planning the Purpose Driven Mom Summit, which happens in April. So we're doing all those things now. I'm getting interviews. I'm doing presentations, I'm working on the branding and the messaging and all those things. So I know that's going to be a push season for me, quarter 1. So then I ask myself the question that I want you to ask yourself. What can I do now to set myself up for success? One of the things, like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, that I've been doing is asking myself, how can I take 2 weeks light where all I'm doing is working on the fun projects that I want to do without feeling stressed? And one of those was getting things, quote, off my plate, not that weigh me down, because I love doing the podcast. I like talking to you. We're 436 episodes in. So we've been doing this, you and me been hanging out for a while, maybe, or if it's your first time, hey, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Here's the thing. I love the podcast. I love getting to talk and share and teach. But when I think about my career and my job, and I think about it in different buckets, right? I have all the purpose-driven mom stuff, and then I have different segments of that. The podcast is one of those things that's constant. It's not a project. For me, it's a numerical goal or a habit. So I am constantly producing episodes. Every single week, a new episode has to come out. It never ends. So in order for me to be able to take a breath over the holiday break, I needed to get ahead. And I asked myself, how ahead do I want to get? So our goal and the way we kind of operate in batching things here at APDM is I'm always trying to be recorded minimum 2 weeks before it's out. Because then that way, if I'm recorded 2 weeks out, I can get it to my editor. She can edit it. Then we can get the show notes up and then we can be done. So it's not like, oh, crud. Because I remember in the beginning, especially when I was doing it by myself, it'd be Sunday night. And I was like, oh, I got to get a podcast out by Monday. And it felt stressful and draining. And I didn't like it. It didn't make the podcast enjoyable for me. Now, this is fun. This is coming out mid-December. I'm chilling right now. I'm not stressed about it. I'm enjoying our time together. And I need to look at the podcast in a way that sets me up for success when it comes to the holiday break. So what can I do? I can very easily think to myself, okay, I know that I want to get podcast episodes done. I know that I want it to look a certain way. So how many podcast episodes do I need to do? I told myself I want all of December done by the end of October because I want to spend November working on other projects. So that was my deadline. Maybe your deadline is I want to have all of my January podcasts done by the end of December, by the time I take a break so that I don't come into January and I'm feeling already behind. So if you do maybe a weekly episode, you're like, okay, I have 2 weeks to get 4 episodes done to get ahead. How do I do that? I have to record, right? You backwards plan, you math it out. I do 2 episodes a day sometimes just to kind of get them out and get them ready to go. All right, once you've identified what you want to get done, now start to backwards plan. Now make it math. I want to write X amount of blog posts. I want to get X amount of social media things recorded. If these are the things I want to do to feel light and easy over break, what can I do now? And I want you to make the next couple weeks a sprint for yourself. It's going to be a sprint though, right? It's going to be a sprint for you, for your family, for the holidays, for getting it all done. I also encourage you to make it a sprint for work if you haven't started batching ahead yet, because then when you get to the holidays, you can sit, you can relax, you can take a breath, you can enjoy yourself instead of, oh no, it's, the day after Christmas and I want to sit around and read my book, but I have to get my podcast up. Okay. The other thing I will recommend though, if you do content, is take a break. We re-aired an episode last week. We're going to be doing that for a couple other episodes because I don't think you have to always be creating new stuff. I think it's okay to take a pause. I think it's okay to take a break. Remember that consistent doesn't mean constant. But I try really hard not to take a break. And I think over the course of 5 years, we've missed 1 week of an episode. So I try really hard using this batching, right? Okay. So batching your tasks, getting them done now. All right. Now, if you haven't, if you're listening to this and you're like, I haven't started, I don't have time to batch. I just want you to set those boundaries. Again, when am I working? What are my maintenance days? What are my light days? What are my heavy days? What are my no work days? And stick to those, pre-plan what you're going to do, and then set some boundaries. Okay. I want you to talk to any clients you have, any customers, let them know. So it's October. We already put on our calendar for the Purpose of Your Mom Club in bold letters, and we're already telling our students these 2 weeks are no call weeks, right? Like we're communicating that 2 months in advance because we want them to know and understand, like, just so you know, like we're just not having calls these 2 weeks. We are going to have time with our family and take that time off. Here's how you can get support. We set it up. We put an away message up, put an away message up in your autoresponder of what you're doing. I have another student and she communicated with all of her clients. She's an accountant. And she said, I told them, this is what I'm taking off. This is when we're doing it. So especially getting ready for tax season, right? She's like, we just did it early. Communicate those plans and then also communicate your plans with your family. So I'm going to tell my family, hey, these are mommy no work days. Mommy will not be working on these days. And I ask them to hold me to it, right? If I say I'm not working on Christmas Eve, because I want, like, if you see me in the office, I want my kids to be like, Mommy, I thought we were playing games, because I need that pull back. It's hard for me not to work. I love my job. I love what I get to do. I love getting to work on projects. But it can lead me to burnout. So I want them to call me on it, but also the expectation of, hey, this is a mommy work day. I am fortunate. I have an office room, workout, craft space. I have a door. And so I will shut the door and say, when my kids know, and my husband sometimes, if the door is closed, mommy's on a call, this is mommy, work time. If the door is open and mommy's in here, then you can come in and ask me questions and things like that. Communicating that is going to really help. And then maybe even talking to your partner, your stakeholders. Maybe your work has become kind of a point of contention of the lack of time you're spending with your family. Like maybe it got to that point and they're kind of like, is there a way that you can not work so we can have time together? I don't know. Have that family meeting. And then my next step is involve family in the planning of what that's going to look like. Not only do I want you to communicate your work boundaries, but I also want you to plan time with your kids. Plan one-on-one time. If you want, here's my copy. If you're watching on YouTube, Draw with Mom, purposedrivenmom.com/draw with mom, $20 right on Amazon. It's a little shameless plug of my new activity book I made for mommy and kids. I've loved it. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see a little clip, a couple of my beautiful artwork. Sorry for the flipping noise on the podcast, but go to the YouTube, look at my incredible mouse. Yesterday we made house in rainbows. Be intentional. I made this book because I was like, I need one-on-one time with my kids and I need a plan. And I don't have hours, but I want it to be purposeful. So I made this book with drawing prompts to just spend 15 minutes a day on purpose with my kids. And it's been so much fun, enjoyable. It's let me just relax. Like I'm not a great artist, so I have to just have fun with it. And I don't know how to naturally do that. So, spend that time with your kids, okay? Know and intentionally plan it out, but also ask your kids, what do you want to do, right? Like what kind of stuff do you want to do over break? I have each of my kids get to pick one like holiday thing, like they want to go see the holiday lights, or we have breakfast with Santa, or if they want to go, I don't know, ice skating. It's not a thing we do. I'm actually petrified to ice skate. I've gone once in my life as an adult. I have this really irrational fear and my throat's gonna get like sliced open with a skate. And I cried. I took my Girl Scouts ice skating and I cried the entire time, like sobbed, like Kim Kardashian ugly cried. I was incredibly afraid. So maybe I will do it again. But what are the things they want to do? Have them pick one and make sure you stick to that for them. My daughter's birthday, as I mentioned, is the 23rd of December. So we have a birthday over the Christmas break. And I want to make sure that time is special for her. We're actually taking her to a hotel because we were going to a party and my son didn't have a birthday party this year. He got in trouble actually. So he lost his birthday party and it was fabulous. I didn't have to spend money on stuff. We still celebrated his birthday, went to dinner, got gifts. It was perfect. So my husband has like Marriott points. So we're going to get a hotel with like an indoor pool like near our house and just have a nice time. And she's so excited about that. But I want to make sure that on her birthday, I'm not glued to my phone, right? Like talk about that. Also, have your kids help with some of the holiday stuff to get it off your plate. Do they want to help wrap gifts? My daughter is so excited to help me wrap the family gifts for her cousins, right? They love to decorate. They love to do things like that. The other thing I'm going to encourage though is for you to come up with activities they can do while you're working. So we have a list that we use in the summer that I'm going to reprint for winter break, and it's basically like there we call it the activity list, and I will make a time blocked schedule for them ish. So if you know my time blocking, it's not rigid, it's just a visual schedule where I'll print it out, I'll put it on the wall, and they know they have to do these things before they get tech, right? Then I have to do these certain things and then I can have tech, etc. Like that's how we did the summer. So I'm gonna do the same thing over winter break. And on it, one of the things I had was an activity list and it just said activity list. So they had to choose from the activity list two things to do before they could have tech. And I gave them ideas, even though my kids know how to play. Sometimes kids need to be a little more directed, like go play with the Legos, go play with the magnet blocks, go outside, color, etc. And so I would put stuff on that activity list and I would say to them, all right, now it's time to go do something from the activity list. So having that pre-made, talking to them about it and saying, hey, mommy's going to go get some work done right now. You need to pick anything off the activity list while I'm doing it. Teach the independent play. All right. And then finally, be kind to yourself. Like it's okay if you need to take more breaks, if you want to cuddle up with your book, if you want to work, all of those things are fine. So give yourself grace, give yourself intentionality. But I want you to think right now, winter break is coming. It's not a surprise. It comes every year. What do you want it to look like? And what can you do now to set yourself up for success? I am making that activity list with my kids now. I am planning those things. I'll put them in like a special bucket. We'll pull them out. I have them on a different shelf. I have got things planned now. I'm looking at the Dollar Tree and Michael's. And when I go and if I see holiday crafts for them to do that are cheap, I'm putting them in a bin. So when I do have to work, I can just pull them out. Ask yourself how you can help yourself out now. Batch some things ahead. Make a plan and enjoy your holiday season. You can enjoy your holiday season and work if you choose. You can enjoy your holiday season and take off if you choose. You get to decide. So in order to do that, you have to take the first step, which is to make a plan. Listen, show notes are at purposedrivenmom.com/podcast 436. Head over and grab those. And again, go to Amazon right now. Here's a way you can help yourself and get Draw with Mom. Go grab it so that you can have an intentional thing to do with your kids over the break.